Hello and welcome to my IGCSE channel, CIE Sciences Mastered. Today we are going to solve the Biology Paper 2 Multiple Choice Examination Paper, May-June 2025, as you can see, Variant 1. So let's just start with the first question. Saying in the first question here, which characteristics of living things requires carbon dioxide to diffuse into a leaf? So a characteristics that require carbon dioxide, of course, it will be nutrition. So how does nutrition requires carbon dioxide to diffuse into a leaf? Because basically, a leaf carries out photosynthesis. So in order for a leaf to carry out photosynthesis, it needs to have carbon dioxide entering. And as you know from the common equation that we all know in our IGCSE topic of plants and photosynthesis, if you write carbon dioxide plus water, it will give you glucose, which is C6H12O6. So basically the answer is C, which is nutrition. Okay, I hope you understood the first question, and the answer will be C. Moving on to the next question, is saying here, which set of features is characteristics only of birds? So birds, we can say that they have hard-shelled eggs and feathers, and let us see why other options are wrong. So in seeing other options why they are wrong, we can see that hair is a characteristics of mammals and birds are not mammals. So A, we're gonna cross it and it's wrong. C, scales, and scales are for reptiles, so you're gonna be cross 2. Wings and soft-shelled eggs. Well, soft-shelled eggs, it's not for birds, it's also for reptiles. So like lizards, for example, it's not for birds. Okay, so we're gonna cross it, and the only answer which is correct here in this question, it will be B. So the answer is B. Okay, number 3, saying here, which structures are found in both plants and animal cells? So in both plants and animal cells, of course, it is letter D. Why? Let us see the first choices and let us see why there are others are wrong. So the answer first of all here is D. Why other options are wrong? Now, in here he's saying to use cell wall, but cell wall is not present in an animal cell, it's only present in a plant cell. So we're gonna cancel letter A. Now, nuclei and cell wall. Well, cell wall, it's found only in plant cells. You cannot say that an animal cell have a cell wall, so it will also be discarded. So A and B have shared a common mistake, and both are discarded. Okay, cytoplasm and chloroplast. Well, cytoplasm is correct for both, but chloroplast, where the conflict will start. Because plants have chloroplast, but animal cells does not have chloroplast. They don't carry out photosynthesis because animals are heterotrophic. Animals are heterotrophic compared to plants which are autotrophic that needs to make their own food, but animal cells do not need to make their own food. In fact, plants need to make their own food, so they are called autotrophic. So simply the answer here will be letter D. Moving on to question number 4. Saying here, a student made the following statements about movement of ions by active transport. So basically any movement of ions, you will guess it active transport. Okay, so let's us now read the question, read the choices he given 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so we're gonna move one step by one and see which ones are wrong and which one are correct, and we will analyze it together. Okay, so 4 the answer basically is A. How? Now let's start. Saying 1, 3 and 4. Let's see. It is the net movement of particles from a low concentration to a high concentration. That's true, right? It is the movement of ions and particles from a low concentration to a high concentration against a concentration gradient. It's not down a concentration gradient, it's against. Active transport is against, okay? So number 1 is totally correct. Number 2, of course, it is wrong because it's saying here from a high concentration to a low concentration. Okay, you're gonna tell me, but bro, now what high concentration to low concentration is what? Basically, high concentration to low concentration, it is diffusion. It is diffusion. So this part is diffusion. Okay, so that number 2 is diffusion. Okay, number 3 here is saying to you, It requires the use of energy from respiration. Of course, active transport is one of the metabolic processes that occurs inside our body, and it needs energy, and that energy you're gonna get it from respiration, okay, of glucose, of whatever monosaccharides, and it will release you energy, okay? So number 3 is correct, absolutely correct. Number 4, it takes place only in living cells. Of course, in living cells only, because basically you're gonna get energy. Of course, if we have a dead cell, you cannot get energy for that active transport to work, okay? So number 1, 3, and 4 is the right answer. So letter A is the correct answer. It's saying here a very easy question. That's so easy, really, for sure. It's saying here, a DNA molecule contains pairs of bases. What is a correct combination of a pair of bases? Okay, so the answer, of course, it will be here in letter 5, it will be D. Why? I will tell you why. It's very easy. So we can memorize it like with a song, okay? Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. So adenine and thymine are linked together by double bonds, while the CNG, which are cytosine and guanine, are linked by triple bonds. And this is like an information you just like you don't need it to know, but it will come in AS biology. So like an information for future, okay? So the answer here is A and T. So we're gonna choose thymine and adenine together to be the correct answer. Number 6, food tests, which are really like we are seeing them now common in exams, like for May, June 2026. Paper 4, there are many food tests asked. In paper 6, there are many. So it's a crucial topic to study, okay? So food test. It's saying here test for protein. Well, it's Biuret. So like basically when you realize that protein is Biuret, first of all you're gonna cross this, you're gonna cross A and you're gonna cross D. So the answer is here, it will be Biuret, okay? Heat, you don't need to heat. We are not here in a Benedict's test, so you do not need to heat. In a color change, it of course it will be blue to purple. Blue to purple. Why blue to purple? Because this is a color you need to memorize. It's like it's not an option not to memorize. So it's basically you need to memorize it. So it letter is C. Very simple and easy question. B, of course, it's wrong because you do not heat, and even the color is like wrong. If you like, even if you don't know the information of heating, you like just can check the color chain that you had memorized before, and you're gonna get like and figure out that the answer is C. The answer is C. Okay. Now question number 7 is telling you here. The graph shows how an enzyme activity is affected by temperature. Okay. It's saying why is an enzyme activity is lower at 55 degrees Celsius? Obviously at 55 degrees Celsius an enzyme is denatured. So denatured means losing the shape of an active site, like here losing shape of active site. And if you're gonna check it closely, and if like you admire it closely here, I will tell you a trick. Now in this question, he's saying to you at 40. Do you know why he told you at 40? Because 40 it is the optimum temperature for any enzyme, okay? It is the optimum temperature for any enzyme. Now he's saying to you what will happen at 55. So basically enzyme will be denatured and it will die, and like you cannot use it anymore. So the answer is basically D. He's saying here the substrate is less likely to fit into active site because already we lost the shape of the active site already, like it's already damaged. Okay, so heat has killed the enzyme. We cannot say this, which is incorrect, but you can understand it like that. But saying it in a statement, no, it's unacceptable. And if you even solve paper 4, you're gonna get more confident about writing the letter D option, not A, because A is not like a text based from a marking scheme, which is totally wrong. The enzyme has been used up. Well, if we return to the definition of an enzyme, it does not use up and it does not change. Like it's a catalyst at the end of the day, so it does not change. The concentration does not change. So B is already wrong. Reactants are moving faster. Of course, the reactants will not be moved faster because that's 55 degrees Celsius, and we are here comparing it to an enzyme activity on the y-axis. So the y-axis here of the dependent variable that we are measuring is measuring what? Is measuring an enzyme. So we cannot say that the reactants are moving faster. The most option that is applicable to such a question is letter D. So basically here the answer will be D. Now moving on to question number 6. hey, saying here which descriptions of adaptations for photosynthesis are correct for a spongy mesophyll tissue. Okay, so in number 8 here you can see he's giving you air spaces for efficient gas exchange and long rectangular cells to absorb light. So basically he's saying what? Correct for a spongy mesophyll tissue. So let us like draw the upper epidermis. This is upper epidermis, and here we have the palisade mesophyll cells. Here are the palisade mesophyll cells, and then like bear with me in this part. Spongy mesophyll cells means what? Areas with air spaces. Like there are air spaces here, and they are random in shape. So this is an air space. This is an air space. Okay, you will tell me, but why a long rectangular cells to absorb light is not correct? Basically, because this is a palisade mesophyll cells, which he is not referring to, the examiner is not referring to that part, so of course we're gonna discard it. So anything which has having no, it will be right. So it will be right. So okay, so here yes will be wrong, and here will be wrong. And he's saying here in letter D, no, well it's not like that. It has an airspace, and the evidence is here in that drawing. So of course airspace for efficient gas exchange, the answer will be letter B. Okay. Number 9 is saying here to you, the table shows the recommended daily allowance of some nutrients for young children. The table also shows masses of these nutrients eaten by a child in one day. Which conditions will be the child at risk of developing if they consume the same diet for a long period of time? Okay, so let us analyze it together. Now, if you look here, it's saying to you that the RDA of that child is here. Mass of vitamin C, well, it's high, 50, okay, and 10, 11 to 160. Okay, now this is the requirements that he should have been eaten, or he should like aim to eat. Now let us analyze what he has ate really, like what he had really ate. So mass eaten in one day, mass of vitamin C, okay, 54. I am predicting that he have a higher concentration of vitamin C, so scurvy will not be an option. Scurvy will not be an option because like the vitamin C is higher than the requirements, so scurvy will not be correct. So like by matching out the wrong answers, I can cancel that and I cancel that. So 3 and 3 are cancelled out. Okay. Mass of vitamin D, well, number 5 is lower than 10, which is the minimum requirements that the student had to have. Okay, so well, it is lower, so that man or that boy, that child will have what? Will have rickets, of course. Obviously, he will have rickets. Mass of calcium, well, here it's 150. This is not the main of questions. Like, let us see calcium we need it for bones and like that. So it's also lower than the minimum requirements. So of course rickets, like I am verifying my answer before looking into the mass of iron. I know that my answer will be rickets. Okay, iron, well, it's the same, so lower chances of having anemia. You will not have even anemia because you have iron requirements as the recommended daily allowance. So rickets only will be the final answer. So it is D. Which item is used for the uptake and use of nutrients by the cells? Okay, so 10, letter B. You will tell how it shouldn't be A. Well, I will tell you that it is a tricky question that was repeated in 2016 May June paper 2. Just go and check it there. That question was repeated, same wording, same everything. But at that time he used the same uptake and use, okay? So let us, for example, if he said only uptake, the answer will be A. But now he didn't say only uptake, he included the word use. So like basically definition of the assimilation is what? It is the uptake and use of nutrients to become part of the cells. So to become part of the cells is obviously like it is being used by the cell, okay? Now he's saying here, number 11, what is the function of trypsin in digestion? Function of trypsin in digestion in 11, we can see it is C. Okay, it catalyzes the breakdown of protein in the small intestine. Trypsin and pepsin are for what? Are for proteins. So basically they work in the small intestine and they have a high pH of number 8. So trypsin have pH 8, right? This is trypsin. and it breaks down protein in the small intestine. Now you will tell me, but why the A, B, and D are wrong? Well, I will tell you that maltose is broken down by another enzyme, which is not trypsin, of course. It's broken down by maltase. Maltase, it's broken down by what? By maltase. Okay? And it catalyzes the breakdown of maltose. Of course, it will be wrong. So A and B are crossed out. Catalyzer of proteins in the stomach. Well, in the stomach, we are using an enzyme which is known as pepsin. Which are using an enzyme known as what? As pepsin. And it works, for your information, at BH what? At BH2. So pepsin works at BH2. So the final answer is basically here is what? The final answer basically here is C. So the final answer in this question of 11 is C. Now number 12, which is a really basic question also, it's very easy. It's saying here which labels show a lacteal. So this is something that you need to memorize. Like 12 is C. Without even looking to the question, the answer is C. Something that is memorized. Humidity in the air on the rate of transpiration in plant. First of all, we need to ask ourselves, what is the effect of humidity on a plant? Okay, let us see. 13, first of all, the answer will be here B. Why? Okay, so as the humidity increases, rate of transpiration decreases, because if I come here, okay, wait a minute, if I come here, now suppose I have my leaf here, okay, suppose I have my leaf here, like that. I have my leaf like that, like that, like that, like that. Now if there are water molecules, which small water molecules or small water droplets surrounding that leaf, okay, because this is humidity, this is what we call the humidity. Now there is a lot of water molecules and water vapor molecules on the leaf. Do you think that the transpiration will be as fast as a leaf which does not have any water molecules on? Of course, it will have a slower rate. So this one will have what? Will have a slower transpiration. It will have what? It will have a slower transpiration. Okay, so this is like just a drawing for your own reference, so that you can like use while you are studying. Okay, now in 14, in some countries, spring is the time of the year when daffodili have green leaves and produce flowers. Which parts of the daffodili plants act as sources and sink in spring? So basically, sources and sinks in spring, it will be C. I will tell you why now. Now let us ask you a question again. A plant, it have leaves, right? So basically a plant have a leaf. So for that plant to survive, now it have that leaf, okay? Now we have a flower. Now we have what? Now we have a flower, okay? For that flower to survive, it needs to have like a source, and it needs to have like a sink. And for that plant, any plant to need to survive, it will have both, okay? So in order for us to imagine this and like have a more better understanding of what is happening here, we can say basically that 14, the answer is C here, because flowers acting as a sink and leaves acting as a source. Well, the flowers are the ones who carry out photosynthesis in the spring. They don't carry out photosynthesis. Flowers in the spring, there is less sun, okay? And leaves are acting as a source. Leaves are acting as a source because the leaves are the ones who are carrying out the photosynthesis in spring. Flowers does not carry out photosynthesis, never ever. Flowers even does not have the pigments. Look into the flower, it either have a red color, a white color, a brown color, like a magenta color, but it does not ever have a green color. So basically it does not have a green pigment. So who is carrying out the photosynthesis? Leaves are carrying out the photosynthesis. So basically who will give the starch by translocation to the flowers? Well, the leaves. So basically the answer will be C. Here, 15, in a fish, what is the sequences of the structures that blood passes through after it leaves the heart? So let us also like here draw a fish and like just like analyze it. Okay, so like the basic answer before we move, it is A. 15 is A. Okay, so let us now move to a drawing. Now supposedly I have a fish. Like sorry, my like drawing is not that good. I'm not an artist. So let's just for imagination. Okay, now the answer we told is what? Now we told it first the blood after going through the heart, okay, it goes where? Basically, it goes through the muscles and then through the heart again. So after it leaves the heart, it will go to the gills. Why? Because as you know, a fish have like one cycle of blood. It is not like us a double circulatory. It's only single circulatory system. A single circulatory system meaning that after the blood leaves the heart, which was deoxygenated as it was coming from the muscles before, after it enters the heart, it needs to enter through the gills to become oxygenated, and for that the muscles will use it and then repeat the process again. Okay, so like just this is a drawing for the illustrations for you like to understand it well. Okay, so basically the answer will be here is what? The answer here is A. 16. The diagram shows what happens in the body during active immunity. Okay, it is also a basic question and it is a lot repeated in the past papers. For paper 4 you're gonna find it a lot. So the answer here is D. The answer here it will be D. Okay, the answer here will be D. Why? I'll tell you now. First of all, he's saying here pathogens enter the body. Okay, so what are detected? Antigens. Why? I'll tell you why. It's a very basic concept. Because basically now these pathogens on their surface of the pathogens, as you know, they have what? They have antigens. So these antigens are acting as antigen representing cells. So when the W's will be detected, okay, by what? By the lymphocytes. So lymphocytes will become active. Now the X will destroy the pathogens directly. So antibodies are the ones who are gonna destroy the pathogens, okay, by pinching out a hole and letting out all of the digestive enzymes to enter and damage and all of that you memorized before and you have written in your exams. I'm sure of that. You have really mastered this part. Okay. Now moving on to the next part. Marking of pathogens. Marking of pathogens occurs so that they can be destroyed by Y? Phagocytes. Pathogens, you can use that mnemonic. Okay. So the mnemonic is what? Mnemonic is simply, it's saying here pathogens, right? So pathogens, right? Pathogens, phagocytes. Can you see the trend? Can you see the common part? That part. So pathogens, phagocytes, directly. Like it's not like a hard thing to memorize. It's so basic, so easy, nothing to worry about. Okay. Now moving on to the next question. Before that, it's saying here that are produced for long-term immunity. Of course, memory cells. Memory cells are produced for long-term immunity. So we like also a chance like to memorize it. You can like very easy. You can write a long-term, right? Long-term. You remember when somebody like memorize a thing for a long period of time? We can say he has a long-term memory. So remember that. So its memory means memory cells. This means memory what? This means memory cells, which is really very basic idea again. So that question is like full of basic ideas. You need just like to memorize these concepts if you haven't and study them well to be ready if they came in your exam. Okay, now saying here cholera is a disease caused by a bacterium called the Vibrio cholerae, and that Vibrio cholerae disease is saying here that it produces a toxin in the infected person's gut. Okay, so it's very simple. He's saying what is the effect of this toxin? He's saying what? What is the effect of what? What is the effect of this toxin? Let us read all of the choices. He's saying here that the toxin causes loss of water from the gut into the blood. Seriously, this is totally wrong, because it causes water to enter the gut from the blood. The water moves from the gut into the blood. That's why when I say what are the causes of Vibrio cholerae or what are the effects of a person when I see him, well, it's dehydration. So basically, can you like imagine how dehydration occurs? Well, water moves out from your body, from your gut, and it enters the gut from the blood. So like the water is moving from the blood. So let us also imagine this. So imagine that this is your blood canal, okay? This is what? This is blood canal, okay? And you have here your small intestines. So basically the water will move from the blood and enter into what? Enter into your gut. So this one causes what to happen? Now this one causes the water to move from the blood into your gut, causing dehydration, and that is the main role of the Vibrio cholerae, okay, of the Vibrio cholerae, okay. So this is like just also a drawing for you to like understand and like memorize it well. And that actually, that question was repeated in June 2023, so you can just also check that paper. I'm gonna solve them all, but I'm just starting like just the channel. Okay, so number 18 is saying here, the graph shows the volume of air lungs changing when a person is breathing at rest. So question 18 here, let us read the choices. Which process are occurring to the change the volume at point marked X? Okay, so marked X, here's like the volume of air in the lungs is what happening to it. It is decreasing. So let's like just us maximize here. And you can see here at X, it is decreasing, right? It's what? It's decreasing. It is decreasing. So in order for it to decrease, you need to like understand the basic respiration, like diaphragm, what is occurring in the diaphragm, what is occurring in the ribs, intercostal muscles, external intercostal muscles. You need to know and differentiate between these. If you didn't have that ability, well, you will fail that question, but hopefully you will not by my way. Now in this question 18, the answer is A. You will tell me, but why the answer is A? Well, diaphragm is relaxing. Now let us draw these lungs. Excuse my drawing because like I'm not that good at drawing. Okay, this is the lungs. Okay, now that diaphragm should relax. What is meaning by the relax? Relax so that the air will be forced out. We don't want the air to come, so it will not contract. So contracting it means that this will go down. This all bars will go down. We don't want that. We want the air to flow out of the lungs. As you can see in the graph, the volume of air in the lungs is decreasing. So of course the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles should relax as well. Okay. Now moving on to the next part, he's saying here, the processes listed occurs in living organism. Which process require energy from respiration? So basically cell division requires. Diffusion, no, because it's a passive transport. So let us write it here for you to know. It's a passive transport. It's not like something like active transport or maybe exocytosis in your AS levels. I'm just telling you extra information. Okay, which process requires energy from respiration? Okay, of course, muscle contraction requires, like muscle contraction. Cell division requires. Osmosis, well, no, osmosis does not require any energy. It's a passive transport also, like diffusion, so no change. So the answer will be 1 and 3, so the answer is B. Okay, so here's saying, what is the role of the glomerulus? Well, the glomerulus, it is used in ultrafiltration. I'm gonna also draw a drawing for you, like to understand the function of a glomerulus. The BCT, DCT will explain everything in that question now. So it's saying here, what is the role of the glomerulus? Okay, so the answer for that question, it will be B. You will ask me how the answer is B. Well, the answer is B basically because one reason only. So glomerulus, it is used for filtration of water, glucose, urea, and ions from the blood. Well, let me ask you a question. Assembling amino acid into a protein, this is an anabolic reaction which does not have any relation with the glomerulus. Glomerulus does not have any relation. You will tell me, but it's in the blood. Okay, it's in the blood, being transported but not being involved in a reaction. So basically A is totally wrong. It's totally wrong. Okay. D, removal of nitrogen containing parts. No, that is deamination, and deamination does not occur in the glomerulus, does not occur in the kidneys. It occurs in the liver. It occurs in the liver cells. Deamination occurs in liver cells. Okay, so tell me, why not by reabsorption? Because reabsorption is BCT, proximal convoluted tubule function. And if you can remember with me that we told before that 100% of the glucose is reabsorbed by the proximal convoluted tubule, right? By selective reabsorption, if you can recall with me. Okay, that what we had learned in paper 4 before. So of course, letter C, it will be a totally wrong answer. So now the answer will be what? The answer basically will be what? Will be B. So the answer here will be B, filtration of water glucose, and let us now explain it with a drawing. Okay, here like that. Okay, Now let us label it together. Okay, now in here you can find that it is the glomerulus where ultrafiltration occurs. Okay, here is your Bowman's capsule, so you just like have the drawing now. Okay, and that part is a Bowman's capsule. It is what? It is a Bowman's capsule. Okay, and that part here up, it is a BCT. And that part here up, it is what? It is a BCT, the one that is before the loop of Henle. Okay, so like just now, let us now move to the next part of the question. To the next question, I mean. I hope that my explanation is good for you to like to understand and recap everything. Okay, so this is like a description for question number 20, a drawing for you to understand. Now my lovely lesson, which is nervous system. The diagram shows a synapse. Okay, which are the label parts? B, well, B, it will be a vesicle. You cannot say that it is a synaptic gap, like common sense, like how that will be a synaptic gap, how it will be a synaptic gap. It's not a gap even, it's a circle or a sac containing something, which are the neurotransmitters, and specifically called acetylcholine. Like it's an information from A2 syllabus. So like it does not like, it's not a thing that you can like even need to think about it. So B, of course, it's not a synaptic gap. So A and B, like just say to them bye bye. Okay, now B, it will be a vesicle. Of course, it will be a vesicle. Q, it's a neurotransmitter, and I told you it's acetylcholine neurotransmitter contained inside that vesicle. R is a synaptic gap, as you can see that here is a gap. Okay, here is a gap, and we say synaptic because it's between two synapses, between the presynaptic neuron, and the postsynaptic neuron. Okay, now the S, of course, it is the receptor where these acetylcholine neurotransmitters are going to attach. The neurotransmitters are going to what? They are going to attach on what? On the receptors. Okay, now moving on to the next question, 22. Which row shows the function of rod cells? So rod cells, we have two types of cells now, rod and cones. Cones are used for color vision, like it's an information that you need to know at all times. But here in the question he was specific, he told you rod cells. So the answer basically is B, because color vision is used for cone cells. But rod cells are for the night vision. Okay, so I hope that question is really clear, because it's really easy, like nothing to like worry about. 23. The diagram shows the position of two endocrine glands. You will tell me endocrine glands here up, endocrine because it releases the hormones. Okay, so it's saying here, what is the response of the body to the hormone released from these glands? So question 23, the answer is basically letter C, an increase in pupil diameter. I will tell you why that question is here, an increase in pupil diameter. So he's saying here endocrine glands. Let me recall with you what was released from an endocrine gland. Well, the flight or fight hormone, right? And when a flight or fight hormone is released into your body, well, many things occurs to your body. Like the increasing in diameter of your pupil or your eye. Both are same, like for you to grasp the idea. Also, you have higher heart rate, and that allows you to move faster. Okay, and also it allows you to like make the reactions faster, more respiration, more energy, or release more energy will be released for you like to ace the situation you are moving in. Like you're flying, of course you need like energy. Okay, of course like all of what the answers I said, it has a reason, because a decrease in heart rate, no, I told you it decreases the heart rate. B, a decrease in blood, of course. How? Okay, like by common sense again, how decreasing blood glucose concentration? Tell me from where that energy is released. For what is the substrate that has been hydrolyzed by an enzyme to release you energy? Well, there's nothing. So if there is a decrease, of course it's not letter B. Development of secondary sexual characteristics? No, it's not like this. These are the hormones for puberty and not for the endocrine gland. So basically the answer will be C. Okay. Number 24, what is the response of human body to overheating? So overheating basically means that you are really hot and you need, like, you're in hot desert or hot temperature room or anything. So the answer basically will be C. You will tell me how. Vasodilation of the arteries. Okay, I will tell you and I'm gonna explain it because this like really disturbs a lot of questions. This answer exactly. You will tell me why arterioles and not veins. I will tell you why. Because, like, first of all, here's your skin. Here is your skin, that layer of skin. Surrounding under that layer is the arteries, which are what? Which are fine strips where our bloods are moving to, okay, deoxygenated blood is moving. So when this vasodilate, when this widens, so that is widened. So instead of it being like that in that shape, well, it won't be in that shape. We're gonna erase this, okay? We're gonna erase this and it will vasodilate. It will what? It will vasodilate. Now it was before a tiny place where blood moves, but now no, it will be wider. It will vasodilate means it will become wider. So more heat will dissipate out. So more heat will be distributed out of your blood, and it will move to what? And it will move out of your blood to the skin. Okay, so it will move out. Heat will dissipate out. Okay. So now let us move to the next question here. Phototropism, it's a lovely lesson. So he's saying here, what is an example of phototropism? 25, the answer will be letter B. You will tell me how, okay? Basically, when I say phototropism, I mean a growth of a shoot towards light due to the cause of an auxin hormone. The cause of what? Of an auxin hormone. So let us also attach a drawing, okay? We want to learn properly. Okay, we want to learn properly, so we need to have a common understanding of such concepts because they are really frequently repeated, and I had noticed that in the past years. So first of all, in that question he's saying to you that a plant leaning towards a plant with a leaf like that, leaning towards sunlight, leaning towards what? Sunlight, meaning that there is a high concentration of auxin hormone. There is a high concentration of what? Of the auxin hormone in the other side at which the leaf had bended itself. Okay, in the other side. And I am really sure that you had understood this concept, but this is also for reference if you had any complications. 26. He's saying, which statement describes the effect of antibiotics? Which statement describes the effect of what? Of antibiotics. Okay, so 26 here, it will be, answer is what? The answer is B. You will tell me how it is B. Now, basically, he's saying antibiotics kill bacteria but do not affect viruses. Of course, antibiotic cannot affect the viruses. It's like an information you need to understand. It's not like an option for you to not having it understood it. Okay, so antibiotics kill bacteria, but viruses are killed by vaccination programs. And if you remember with me, we was doing vaccination programs to increase the herd immunity, right? Remember in paper 4 when you were studying this before the last lesson? Remember that you took the vaccination programs, and it also came in June 2024 paper 4 question. It was a complete 6 marks question, only the 4 marks I guess. It was completely on vaccination programs to protect you against the viruses, remember? So just to go refer to that question. It's really basic and have anything to worry about it. 27, okay, so 27 here, before anything the answer will be A. You will tell me how, okay? Saying a diagram show one parent hydra growing and releasing an offspring from the side of its body. Which is correct? Parents and offspring are genetically identical, of course, because that offspring is being released from the same parent, so basically by common sense they are genetically identical. Involves sexual reproduction? Yes, because there is no sexual methods here of reproduction, and that question is also very easy. 28. The diagram shows a changing concentration of some hormones involved in menstrual cycle. So this is a graph for people who really memorized their lessons, for people who really studied. Okay, so 28 will be here B. It's like something that you need to memorize. W is the LH hormone and Y is the estrogen hormone. And you knew what? LH hormone, it is released during the ovulation day. So 14, it is the ovulation day. It is the day where likely ovulation to occur. 29, diagram shows the chromosomes of nucleus of a cell that divide by mitosis. So basically answer here will be C. Dividing by mitosis means that of course we're gonna have more than that, because remember that we are having the same number of chromosomes. We're not doing here meiosis, we're doing mitosis. We're gonna get the same copy, same exact copy, nothing will be changed. Okay, so A, of course it is wrong, it's less. The number of chromosomes in that cell compared to that cell, they are so less. In B, the same idea. In D, they are not identical in shape. But C, it is the most closest one to that, so the answer is C. In that question, a farmer bred together male cattle with white hair and female cattle with red hair. All of the offspring reduced had roan hair, a mixture of red and white. What explains why the farmer obtained this ratio? Okay, so the answer here it will be B. You will tell me how it's B. Like now, you have more than one color in one offspring, meaning that there are multiple alleles which are contributing to the same phenotype. There are what? There are multiple alleles contributing to the same phenotype in a heterozygous genotype. So basically, the answer here will be B. Like if you think about it, it will be very easy. Like it's by common sense. This question is so common sense, nothing to worry about if you had studied it well, or even didn't study it well. Like any organism which have different color on the same body, it's codominance. While you are like so easy. Phagocytes and neurons are two types of specialized cells. Phagocytes and neurons express the same genes. Well, I'm gonna say no, because like basically neurons are in the nervous system, phagocytes are in the immune system, so it's impossible for them to share the same and express the same genes. So one is incorrect. Like just cross A, cross B. Now for 2 and 3, you're gonna choose what? Well, this option saying here both types of cells have the same genes. Of course they have the same genes, they have the same genotype, which is the same DNA. The DNA does not change. The changing only occurs when expressing that gene, producing a different protein for each different cells in different parts of the body. Okay. Number 3, both types of cell only express the genes that make the proteins needed for the cell to function. So what I said like just 5 seconds ago, so now it's 2 and 3, so basically here the answer will be C. Number 32, the table shows some features of leaves. Which leaf is adapted to survive in hot, dry habitats? Of course, hot, dry habitats, meaning that I want to retain water loss, I want to maintain turgidity, I want to prevent the plant from wilting. So in order to make this, basically, I will need my stomata for question 32 to be few. So now C and D are coming with us. Thickness of waxy cuticle, I need it to be thick, because if it's thin, so water will diffuse easily, but and also in a shorter time. But if it is thickness of waxy cuticle is thick, meaning that the thickness allows the water to move slowly and less water will move out compared to having it thin. So this one will cause a larger diffusion distance. Larger diffusion distance. Okay. Now for the surface area of leaf, I need it to be small for the same idea, to retain water loss and and the other answer you are used to. Okay, so the answer here is C. 33, we're about 7 questions to end. Which row correctly describe a type of selection? Okay, type of selection, let us read together. Type of selection here and humans involved. An example. Okay, artificial, of course we need humans, so basically A is wrong. Artificial, okay, this is correct. Example, production of a bacteria that are resistant to the antibiotics. Well, this is not correct, because artificial selection requires you mating two animals like a bull and a bull, or a cow and a cow, which have high milk yield, and you want like to breed them together to produce offspring which will also show the same characteristics, and you repeat over many generations. It's never done to bacteria. Okay, it's never done to bacteria. Now moving on to the next part, which is C. Natural. Well, humans are involved. No, it's totally incorrect. So the final answer is D. Final answer is D. He will tell. Now let us explain why it's D. Natural, of course it's natural. Humans involved, of course there are no humans involved in natural selection, because it's a different type of selection compared to the artificial. Example: production of wild animals with long necks to each tree leaves as a food source, which that occurs actually over a longer period of time compared to compared to artificial selection, which like can occur in like a very shorter time compared to the natural selection. Now 34. Which statement about the pyramid of energy for a food chain is correct? For 34, the answer will be here B. Will tell me B. How it's B? Does a pyramid of energy shows how energy is lost at each trophic level? No, it does not show that. It shows the energy stored at each trophic level. Yup, that's true. C. It shows the input of energy from the principal source. No, it does not show that. D. It shows the total energy stored within ecosystem. Show total energy was stored in the ecosystem. No, it does not show that. So like the pyramid of energy, you have that. So a pyramid of energy, that like which is a plant. Okay, it will be here the plant. Now on like for example this is a cow, and for example this is a lion. So plant will have the highest energy stored in it. Number 35. The food web shows about of an ocean ecosystem, and that actually, that idea was repeated in, like you just go and check November 23 paper 4 idea. Okay, now let's count them together. In number 35, I'm gonna tell you that the answer will be here B. Now how? Let us check them. Number of secondary consumers are the ones who eat the primary consumers. They are not the ones who eat producers, because this is a misconception like I'm seeing the students are making. Like it's a really misconception that like as a student you cannot like make. Okay, the misconception in this question and the trick in this question, that you may overread, like you may misread the word secondary consumers, and like you might think it's primary consumers. So primary consumers, basically they are going to eat what they are going to eat. So here primary will eat producers. Primary eat producers, and secondary eat primary consumers. So let us count them together. This is only for your like reference and for your understanding. I'm doing this. Okay, here is your misconception note. Okay, now move to the next. Now let's count them together. Now these all in yellow, they are primary consumers. Now move to what? Move to the secondary consumers. Okay, so let's count them together with a red color. Now number of secondary consumers in that question, there are 4. Let us now find them. Number 1 is sea otter, number 2 is seal, number 3 is sea lion, and number 4 is orca whale. You tell me how orca whale? Because it ate the bone. It has eaten what? It has eaten the bone. So number 4, we have 4 secondary consumers, which is also similar to option D. So how gonna differentiate them? Well, you're gonna differentiate them easily by having an orca whale eating those secondary consumers. So a tertiary consumer is an animal or an organism which eats what? Which eats a secondary consumer. Can you tell me here? Nothing ate the secondary consumers except the orca whale. So now move to the next question. 36. 4 questions and we'll end this exam. 36 is C. Before reading, now let's start read. An effect of high temperature on the production of nitrates. So this is your independent variable here, and this is your dependent variable. 2 samples of soils were taken. 1 sample were heated up to 100 degrees Celsius. all the nitrate ions were completely removed from both soil samples. Ammonium ions were then added to both soil samples. After 2 weeks, both soil samples were tested for the presence of the nitrate ions. He's saying here, which statement explains these results? Heating the soil break down the nitrate ions, or heating the soil increased the activity of denaturifying bacteria, or heating the soil killed nitrifying bacteria. Okay, so in here, if you like saying here, nitrate ions are present or absent, like by common and easy sense, like by common sense. It's saying here, not heated to 100 degrees Celsius, nitrate ions are present, but heated to 100 degrees Celsius, they are absent. Now, basically, nitrifying bacteria is used to produce what? Is used to produce nitrate ions. It's used to regenerate and reproduce nitrate ions inside the soil, right? Right, okay. No one had denied. Now, moving on to denaturifying bacterial function. It converts these nitrates into nitrogen to be nitrogen gas to be released in the air. So the answer here for that question basically will be letter C. Okay. Here in that question is saying which letter represents the lag phase in the population. In the population graph shown, it's something to memorize, like it's so common sense. It will be A, of course. Lag phase. It is not saying log. If it's log, it's exponential phase. It will be B. But it's saying lag. This is the start. There's a difference. Log versus lag. There's a difference. Okay. Here, which term describes the number of different species living in an area? Number of different species living in an area, obviously it's biodiversity, and it's a definition that you need to memorize. It's not an option not to memorize. Okay, let us define the others. You will tell me, what is an ecosystem? Well, ecosystem, it's a self-contained unit containing biotic and abiotic factors interacting together. So of course it is not C. Now moving on to question 39. Which source of pollution can cause eutrophication? Of course it is D. Sewage. The sewage coming from the oceans, the sewage coming from the factories, the sewage coming from the homes, industries, like anything, or even the ships. This causes eutrophication. Okay, of course it's not carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide causes global warming. Okay, global warming. Methane also causes global warming. Non-biodegradable plastic, it will not biodegrade, so this one does not cause anything related to such a question. So 39, the answer will be D. Last question. Some processes involved in the production of insulin by genetic modification are listed. Cutting of a plasmid DNA with restriction enzyme, and actually this is actually like an AS syllabus and A2 syllabus. You will find these things, so it's worth knowing them now. A cutting of bacterial plasmid DNA with restriction enzyme, okay, which is actually, this is the first step. You need to cut the bacterial plasmid to extract the DNA out, okay. Then we need to insert that DNA into the recombinant plasmid. So how you will tell me how that occurs actually? Well, here you have a DNA. You're gonna extract it. You have your plasmid. You're gonna enter in it the DNA. Now this is called recombinant plasmid. Recombinant what? Recombinant plasmid. Okay, so this is just the main idea. So the answer here, without looking to other options, the answer here is A. Okay, the answer is A. You will tell me how for. Of course you cannot work without the DNA being extracted. How you will work with that? Out the DNA being extracted. So number 4, basically starting with it is a big mistake. Number 3 is the same idea. How you're gonna insert it without even extracting it? Number 2, expression in bacteria of human gene. Well, you cannot express the gene unless you insert it into a plasmid, and that plasmid is inserted into a bacteria for it to make clones and multiply and these things that you are knowing. Okay, so of course B will be the incorrect option 2. So the final answer is A. And well, that is the end of the exam. I hope you have really benefited from my explanation, and that was all for today. For such an exam, it was really an easy exam. and like the exam is like solved if you had studied well. And I hope you all the best, and if you like the video, please like, subscribe, and share it to your other friends so that all can benefit from the explanation. And see you in another video, and that video was made by the channel CAIC Sciences Mastered. And thank you for your time.